to Rambam. We continue in the laws of offerings. The offerings that we're offering today is b'chayros, which means the firstborn. Right, so we're actually in the second chapter. So chapter 2 of the laws of firstborn offerings. So the firstborn offering is of a cow, of a sheep. Also from a non-kosher is a chamor, a donkey, right? And also the firstborn non-Kohen, non-Levite child, also firstborn, right? So the firstborn sheep or calf goes to the Kohen, and also the donkey, or the value of it, also goes to the Kohen. Let's continue. So if any permanent blemishes which disqualify consecrated animals require them to be redeemed, if contracted by the firstborn animal, it may be slaughtered for this reason in any place. So it's a permanent blemish, right? This is a consecrated animal. It's a firstborn. And it needs to be redeemed. So it may be slaughtered. In other words, by the Kohen. It belongs to the Kohen, right? But it can be slaughtered because it doesn't have any holiness to it, because of the permanent blemish. We've already explained those blemishes in Hilchos Yisur Mizbeach. Those are appropriate to apply to a male animal, number 67 of them, right? Yeah, we learned that over the plane. Number 2, all the conditions mentioned there, which cause a sacrifice to be considered as less than desirable, and hence, due to them, a consecrated animal is not offered, but also is not redeemed, cause a firstborn. In those cases where they don't become redeemed, right? In sacrifices for the altar, here the firstborn, not to be slaughtered due to them, nor offered. So in this case, also here, it wouldn't be slaughtered, or it would be offered. Instead, the animal remains until it contracts a permanent blemish. And then it could be redeemed. No, then it can be slaughtered, rather. It doesn't need to be redeemed. It loses. Similarly, if the firstborn contracts a temporary blemish, it should not be slaughtered in any place, nor should it be offered. Instead, it should pasture until it contracts a permanent blemish, and it's slaughtered because of it. So, okay, so the firstborn is like firstborn animal, right? It is consecrated. It's holy, but it's only if it doesn't have a blemish. If it does have a blemish, so it loses its holiness. It doesn't need to be redeemed because it loses its holiness, as opposed to something that's for the altar, right? There's a difference. Something for the altar is holier. So and it doesn't lose its holiness, and therefore it needs to be redeemed. But here it doesn't need to be redeemed. It lost its holiness. And therefore, if it was something that had a permanent blemish, then you can slaughter it right away. But if it had a temporary blemish, it needs to have a permanent blemish, and then it can be slaughtered by the kohen and be eaten as chulin, as regular mundane meat, as opposed to something that has holiness to it. And therefore, you would have to eat it only in a holy place like Jerusalem. Similarly, if a transgression was performed with it, or it killed a human, according to a testimony of only one witness or the owner, it was set aside to be worshipped as a false deity, or indeed it was worship. It should be left to pasture until it contracts a disqualifying blemish, as explained in Yisur Mizbeach, right? So now all of these scenarios. So it can't be used in any holy way. So it needs to contract to get a blood to left to pasture until disqualifying blemish. Then it loses its holiness. Neither an animal born from cesarean section nor one born afterwards are considered as firstborn animals. So if it was a C-section to the animal, it's not called the firstborn, even though it was the first, right? Or the one that born after that, you might think, oh, that's the firstborn. It's also not considered a firstborn. Yeah. The second is not because the first preceded it. Even if a female was born through cesarean section and the male later emerged from the womb, it is not a firstborn. Doesn't have that law. When a firstborn animal is an androgynous, right? Androgynous means it's got signs of being male and female, right? It does not have any sacred quality associated with it, right? Because when we say firstborn, it means firstborn male animal, right? Not female. And now here it's got both. It is like a female concerning which the Kohen has no claim at all. One perform labor with it and shear it like other ordinary animals. So the Kohen, right, because it's only the firstborn male that he gets. So firstborn, there's not a firstborn male, right? And it's not a half male that he gets. It's total male. It's not total. So therefore it belongs to, it's like a female being born, firstborn, that belongs to the owner. When an animal is born as a tumtum means that it's covered over the genitals and you can't really tell if it's male or female. It is considered as a firstborn of doubtful status. It may be eaten by its owner after it contracts a blemish. So here you don't know what. In the previous one, it's both male and female. This one, you're not certain what it is, right? It was because the genitals are covered over in such a way that you don't know. So therefore, that's a doubtful status because maybe it is completely male. So therefore, it can only be eaten by the owner if once it contracts a blemish and it's no longer holy. This applies whether it urinates from a place that appears to indicate that it is a male or urinates from a place that appears to indicate that it is female. Okay. When a sheep gives birth to an offspring that appears like a goat, or a goat gives birth to an offspring that appears like a lamb, is exempt from the mitzvah of the firstborn. It's indicated, which speaks of the firstborn of an ox, implying that it must be an ox, and the firstborn must be an ox. So yeah, I don't know how that happens exactly, that it doesn't appear to be like what it's what it's
Okay. In other words, it doesn't appear to be
what it came from.
Right.
This is just an appearance. If there is some of the distinguishing characteristics of a mother, it's considered as a firstborn, it is considered as having a permanent blemish, or there is no blemish greater than deviation from the norms of creation, as explained in Hilchos Isur these because maybe it was crossbreed, right? And that's why it's not, the characteristics are not so pronounced and obvious. That's what seemingly what it is, I think.
If it's crossbred, would it even be offered or considered to be offered of?
I say maybe, I'm saying maybe it is, and that's why the animal comes out that way. I don't know. Good question. Yeah, I don't think let's see, maybe if it brings it up. Even if a cow gives birth to an offspring resembles a donkey, but it has some of the signs of a cow, it is a firstborn that must be given to a kohen. Rationale is that with regard to the species of donkeys, there is a concept of firstborn. Because donkeys, there is firstborn also that you give. So, here's me.
There are some signs that it resembles a cow, so.
But even if it has some signs of a donkey you also have to give to the kohen. So whether it's a donkey or a cow, you have to give it anyways.
It's not testable, for example.
Right. If, however, you gave birth to an offspring resembling a horse or a camel, even if it has some signs of a cow, it is merely a firstborn of doubtful status, therefore it may be eaten by the owners. If, however, the priest takes possession of it, it is not expropriated from his possession. Because maybe it does belong to him. It's a doubtful status. So doubtful status means, possession is 9/10 of the law.
But then it resembles a horse or a camel, which we don't offer as a firstborn.
Excuse me, that's the point. Yeah, that's the point here. Right. And so there's a doubt as a result, right? You appreciate that there's a doubt here, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I have to stop here, unfortunately. Can't continue.
Thank you.
Is Tanya later TSC?
TRC, yes,
Thank you.
4 o'clock.